Carla.
And we're the Smiley Twins. And I'm excited to be back. I've been back for...
Yeah, she's abandoned me for weeks and weeks.
Okay. A couple weeks. Had surgery
Unacceptable.
last week on Wednesday. So
This is feeding in very well to our conversation.
it is, because I am sitting here extremely uncomfortable to be here. So we could talk about that. But I did tell Carla that I would like to, or we wanted to do the podcast a little more lighter. I don't really know.
Last couple weeks it would have been like interviews and stuff.
Yeah,
which are great.
Yeah. And even the ones before that, we had a couple, the attorneys and, just a little, not heavier stuff, but just like, I don't know. We just want to do something fun. And someone suggested to us that we do just something more about us being twins and kind of how it impacts business and how we've done it, really, because, there's that very cliche saying of like, don't go into business with family and stuff. And we could have, my God, when I tell you what our company is like, I mean, it's amazing.
We tied those ships together.
We sure did. We did not listen to anybody, and it's worked out beautifully, and here we are. But it definitely has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
And the downs can be very down, and the ups are usually, there's way more ups than downs for sure. But before we get into some of that stuff, I want to do what Carla has not done in interviewing, so let's get back on track with the Patreon shout-outs. Hopefully this goes back far enough. I didn't go back more than like a week or so, but or 2 weeks, I think, maybe. Anyways, it doesn't, if I don't shout you out on Patreon and you feel bad about it, please let us know. So if you want to shout out, just let me know. So we our Patreon, are a little blurb back to our Patreon, which we say every time. It's an extension of this YouTube channel with a whole lot more stuff. We really try to do way more business, clinical, and I have been posting some injection videos and stuff on here, trying to post a little bit more on here on YouTube, but it is so much more than that. And
I literally put the business hour that I teach in our training classes.
Yeah,
people
which
pay good money.
$1,600 for, on Patreon. So content cycles through in terms of like it stays up for a little while, and then we take it down and add new stuff. And so it's just ever constant, ever flowing, and there's an endless amount of ideas and stuff, and then we take custom requests. Thank you, from our patrons or whatever. So some of the stuff that you see up there is a direct ask of patrons. So anyway, so our Patreon shout-outs are just to the people that have subscribed to that and are on our
Molly
subscription. So and I hope I was saying this
Brandy.
right. All right, you're going backwards. First,
Katya.
Read left from right. That's what I was saying. I think it's Katya, Mercedes,
Anna,
Autumn, Megan, Brooke, Cameron, Carolyn, Brandy, and Molly. Thank you so much for being our patrons. We have a ton of we have the tier side and the free side. We have a ton of free patrons, and we thank you for also supporting us that way as well. And we welcome feedback from you guys as well if you're watching this. So like I said, today we are going to we're just going to kind of go back and forth and be ourselves and talk about how being
which
twins.
Is quite the glimpse if we really get into it.
Well, if we let ourselves loose.
I need a drink for that.
Okay, well, family dynamics. Let me get into the family dynamics really quick, I guess, of Smiley Aesthetics and how interesting is a good word it is. So you have Carla and I, who are identical twin sisters, who started this or whatever, founders. We have our third partner, who is our attorney. She's one of my closest friends. She's friends with Carla as well, but
they're like besties.
She's one of my best friends. Yeah.
So you're mixing that dynamic too.
It can be an interesting triangle. And
then Mamacita.
Oh yeah. And our administrative team, and one of our vice presidents is our mom, Lori. She brought such a fantastic skill set to the company. So to be clear, these decisions were not made, every decision was very calculated and was not just like, I think it'd be fun to bring mom on. The skill set that each of these people brought was
I'm
also
too
very
old for
important.
that.
Yeah. So Courtney is our chief legal officer. She's an attorney. I don't need to explain that any further on the value of that. And then
Our mother's history was she was the chief information officer for the city that she ended up retiring from, but then was also the director of IT for the city of Nashville. So she held
so she has a lot of IT background.
ITNS, so security.
A lot of management, a lot of managing employees and hire people and firing and stuff. So she does a lot on that more, I don't want to call it but some of the HR side of things or whatever, as well as some processes and stuff. My mother-in-law is another vice president of our company.
Vice president of operations.
She is. And she was her experience as an executive assistant for 21 years, which she just last week retired from.
On Friday.
It's very exciting for us to bring her. She didn't really retire because she's not full time with us, but we do like to think that the job is much easier and
a little bit different,
much more fun.
Yeah.
So those are two. We have some other vice presidents in our company that are not family.
I think that's really key. I mean, I know this is going to be informal, but like they brought a skill set to the business.
Right. We didn't.
This was not a free for all because there's nothing worse than bringing on dead weight. Quite frankly, whether it's I don't care if it's your sister or your mom. I mean, that'll crush a company.
Well, also dead weight that's family is even worse because it'll eventually crush the relationship as well as the company.
That's what you know. What that could actually be why people say don't go into business with family. Like I would be curious if we really dug into like a qualitative study on why it fails. It'd be that reason right there. Like people hired dead weight or the wrong people, obviously, but because they were family and then tore the whole freaking thing apart. Like that'd be interesting.
Probably. I think that's going to be part of it.
Yeah,
sure. That's probably half of it, and the other half is just the.
Sorry. The other half's what?
You lost my thought.
Oh, so then. Don't worry, I'll get it telepathically later.
It's already right in here.
No, it's just
so then
I get to talk to my husband, Jonathan Ford, who is a multi-restaurant owner in his prior career, and so has a lot of experience in managing operations and the running of company and all kinds of skill set that translates over as he was in the day-to-day operations of restaurants as well as managing the employees and growth and marketing and all kinds of stuff. Why are you laughing?
She took my hairpiece and put it over there.
So anyways, he is our director of operations in our company and has been a huge asset. He reports to me. I would highly recommend that to all people who bring on spells.
Okay, he doesn't report to me. I feel like that's very,
Seems like that would be obvious, but again, it's a tag. Yeah. It's a tag on our pants. I mean, you often wonder how people, like literally you built a multi-million-dollar company and this is what.
Figs, can you help me?
You know how Figs
has some thick
what
tags.
What does that mean when they say, look at him. That's yours. He's yours. So instead of it being who's yours, it's like, look at your CEO. That's yours. That's yours.
They do have.
That's who she is.
They got thick tags. Okay, I knew something was going on back there.
Anyways, obvious. It seems obvious, but like, what's so crazy about one of the things I've learned in this process, in being the owner, the top. I mean, quite frankly, is that people don't actually know. So where you think things are obvious, well, just anything. So where you think things are obvious, you've already overassumed. And I think that's a really important lesson in leadership, is that if you think someone knows, you've already overassumed. And you don't offend somebody's intelligence by telling them, yes, that is green. No, we're not talking about that. But to say, and I'm not offending anybody's intelligence who's listening to this, but just to assume even that people would either partner with their spouse or bring them on in some kind of weird role that's not defined and or that's not reporting to somebody who's not them. You think, yeah, well, of course. And it's like, no, actually people do that all the time, which is yet another reason why probably businesses associated with family fail. It's because people don't want to do the hard and have those hard conversations of like, or whatever the case is. And it might seem cut and dry to us, but, and it was cut and dry to me, that's for darn sure.
Yeah, here we are.
But, I just don't think it's always so obvious. And it can be difficult.
Well, it's what I think the biggest takeaway from Smiley Aesthetics and the way that our company is currently set up is that it was such a everybody has such a the three people that we brought on a first of all, talking about twin sisters, which we'll can talk about a little bit more specifically, it stands alone in a totally different way. It's not the same as sisters. It's not the same as mom-daughter. It's obviously not the same as any other kind of family relationship. And then the husband, the mother-in-law, the mother, the skill set they brought was just, it has proved to be.
Oh, sure.
We felt like it would be, and it has more than proved to be just invaluable and just, just something that we would have hired somebody probably with less experience and less whatever. So why would we not take advantage of the fact that they had these skill sets that are so amazing? And
we also got to take advantage of the whole value of family. Wow. Let's take that back. That is not the whole value of family. The whole value in family related to bringing them on in a business and being financially nice.
You said it the way she probably totally
That's not true,
about
obviously. I love my mom.
What about me?
No, I was talking about bringing on people, family members as employees who are investing in you and investing in your vision and investing in the person that they know. So you can ask things of them that you would not be able to ask of another employee, like, hey, will you work for basically nothing? Or will you do this in your side time after your full-time job? And by the way, we're going to basically pay you pennies, which we didn't pay pennies, but I mean, we kind of did.
We played dimes.
Yeah, maybe nickels. To get this company off the ground.
Yeah.
And they all were very trusting and invested in us and who we were, which is also fascinating.
To that same point, though, it was one of the most rewarding things one of the most rewarding things about having family on are the successes like Debbie, our vice president of operations, being able to retire from her other job. And then, we were able to retire my mom from her other job last year. And lifestyle, of course, come with some of these executive roles or these, administrative roles or whatever, high-level roles comes with a lifestyle change for sure. And that's another part of, while they're coming onto a full-time job now, it's a huge lifestyle change and just also a lot more fun and, a bunch of other parts of it that are just, sharing each other's successes. So with that being said, it's, we have literally talked to like coaches, like our current coach right now who's coaching us, an executive coach on some business stuff about understanding how Carla and I are. And it's not all identical twins, I don't think, but those like us that are
very close,
that are as close as we are. Our entire lives are integrated together, from kids, husbands, all of it. It's just never going to happen. And ultimately, it started.
What's never going to happen?
Understanding it.
Oh,
understanding it fully.
Understanding it.
But understanding that you're not going to understand it is the part that has to happen. And I think this started back when we were in high school, when we saw it in coaching basketball and sports and stuff. And while we, love our high school coaches and everything, coaching identical twins, that's its own little skill set that is very difficult because obviously they don't come through on teams often, or it's pretty rare. I mean, a coach may never see a set of twins on their team.
I read recently in I don't know where it was, but riches comes in niches. If somebody wants to start a little niche or however you want to call it,
how to coach twins.
The dynamics of coaching twins in sports, or the dynamics of dealing with twins, especially identical ones. I mean, it would be this big, but boy, there'd be some people out there who would probably really appreciate that, who have really fudged it up, but also those who have successfully done it, and you just, it's just a difficult
how to parent identical twins. Not is it a poor job, but just the whole thing of, or just the studies. And I mean, let's not nerd out here. So it started with us. I think I think the important thing for us is identifying that it was a challenge, that we were going to be a product of the challenge, or we were going to kind of see the ramifications of where a said coach might more easily be able to coach this, and this, but would have a more difficult time with her and I. And I think identifying it was step one for us. And we've carried that through life in general. Now it became not as applicable when we worked together actually in the hospital. So we went to college and played basketball in college. So we saw it there. And then we were we worked together at the same hospital, with the same company for a little bit. I don't think we really felt much there.
You left me. I took the job there, and then you literally left and went to Vanderbilt like 2 months later.
Had to go to anesthesia school.
It was awful.
Do what you got to do. So anyways,
it worked. You got to do.
It worked out. It worked out. So I was there for like a hot minute.
No,
and I was there first.
I know. And I took that
you
job
showed
there.
up quicker.
What? No. Anyways.
You know what?
Go ahead.
That was a part of your HJ career. So I feel like things worked out the way they were supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of you left me's in our story.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyhow, saw it a little bit in our nursing, and then we didn't really see it again until coming to this.
Yeah,
business.
nursing, obviously professionally, it wasn't as tough. I mean, when you're managing identical twins, I mean, it's just interesting that it still does play into it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
More than you think.
I don't remember it as much, and I don't.
Well, I mean, I'm also an adult, and I'm like, you're playing me off another adult. Like, it's unacceptable, right? It's not like,
yeah.
Like I have nothing to do with her. Like, so there, in terms of my professional career, so there shouldn't. Although we did used to get in trouble as techs when they were like, y'all are too buddy. You do it all together. Y'all should each split. Remember when we were on rehab floor?
Yeah, kind of. I try to block some of those days out.
Tech.
Not because it was with her. It's just more about like those tech.
Those were some brutal days.
Started from a tech, from being a CNA or whatever, and working your way up to CRNA and surgeries is just, it's challenging.
Yeah.
But yeah. So anyway, so now it's not. Sure, it's our executive coach that's kind of seeing that challenge now or whatever. But it's more us just now playing it out amongst ourselves of.
Well, you can keep going. I mean, I don't want to skip you were going on the right track there. So then you had your professional lives. Then someone gets married. And that's
the husband part of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother dynamic. It's now my husband was around us from the time we met when I was 18. And
because of me, so that helps.
Oh my gosh, she contributes our entire 15-year relationship and 11-year marriage to her.
I did play a vital role.
He played basketball at Swanee, and so did I.
I played a vital role that night.
There was a role you played.
It was vital.
I do. It was a good role, but I don't.
You can use the word vital.
I just don't think it's fair to say that. Oh, it never would have happened had I not. Played the role I played. That's
never
vital.
said that.
No, vital is like vital.
Vital
organs.
is not like life or death.
Yeah, it is vital, like vital organs.
Well, you have your vital organs. A kidney, you got two of them. Not everything is vital, life or death, like a kidney. That's a bad example. That's a organ's a bad example. Lungs, you got a few. So, it was vital. It was vital. It was vital. We can tell that story.
Mary says she doesn't like to get into semantics of words. She lied.
I don't even. I think semantics of word are very important.
So, anyways,
once again, I don't think I ever.
For those of you who are listening and who are wondering how the hell we've done what we've done, we don't know. So
I was a pivotal part of their marriage. Therefore, he was there from the very beginning, and we became best friends before he ever became her husband. So that made it a little easier.
Yeah,
flip the switch. Not so much with Jonathan, just that he was
just much later.
Yeah, and then we also lived in Knoxville, and they did not live in Knoxville. That was also
huge,
a big deal. Huge. And they had kids at the time.
Yeah.
We met. Yeah, Gabe was around. Yeah. So obviously much different. And navigating that relationship has.
Well, poor Jonathan. We should bring him on here sometime and be like, "What's it like?" Like between the identical twins and Brad.
We're gonna get them here and have them on in general.
Oh, that's
probably
a good idea.
Just as a fun a fun episode that you probably some people might have already switched it off because they're like, why am I listening to this? But maybe others are like, okay. So yeah. So that has less challenges now, as I suspected time would help that. The time is what brought Bradley and I so close, and time is what is getting Jonathan. Now, we did bring him in as an employee of the business, which actually I was concerned that would be a negative thing, and I think that's actually been a positive for their relationship.
Yeah, there's concerns there.
Yeah, there's big concerns.
Oh, it hasn't been a positive. I think I told Jonathan this, or I thought I was going to. It's been the best thing ever. Been more than I could ever.
We should tell him that.
I think I did.
Well, you should retell him just in case you didn't tell him because you thought you told him.
It's funny, shouldn't I remember that? I mean, not because I don't place value on it, but I think I was I think
you had a stroke a couple weeks ago and something's wrong with your memory.
I did have viral meningitis not that long ago, and I'm still within that period, which it should be about over now.
Yeah, I think you're about out of that.
She said at least give it full 6 months, and I'm a couple weeks away from that, so
okay. All right. Well, just saying. So anyway, that part of it is interesting. Jonathan deals with it as an employee, dealing with us because he hears things at home, obviously. And then he's also an employee, and he reports to Carla. So I'm sure there's a lot that could be unpacked there. He probably should be in therapy for it. But I don't.
It's going well.
Yeah, well, this is all to say I don't think we're that bad, and it is going very well. So
Jonathan is absolutely my family, but it's a little different than having my sister report to me.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I still wouldn't advise it, but sure. just because we are so close.
Sit here and say we wouldn't advise all this since we've actually been able to make it work pretty seamlessly.
I think it's a unicorn.
I know what it is. No, I know what it is. And Mary calls me cold a lot. I'm not really cold.
Oh, you're cold a lot.
Well,
I think you say things. I'm like, I do not call you cold.
Well, yeah. I mean, you've said it, but I think there's been a lot of. Okay, I'm harder than you. Okay. Anyway, the point being, I think it is so important that if you can't look at yourself and know that you are able to, and it is what it is. You can call it cold, you can call it whatever, but separate the personal from the business. So when I have a difficult conversation with my mom, I literally don't think twice about her being my mother. Now, I'm respectful of everybody, so it's not an issue because it doesn't matter if you're my mother or you're whoever you are. It doesn't matter. I'm always respectful. I treat everybody the exact same. I firmly believe in that. So the conversation with her, whether it's difficult or not, is not. What are you talking about? You?
I mean, no, I think you try to treat everybody the same.
Who do I treat differently? What are you talking about?
The effort is there, and you're probably successful most of the time.
If you're talking about you, that doesn't count. That's the whole point of the podcast.
Talking about me.
Okay. Anyways, try to be respectful. Try. It's a try.
I think you're respectful.
My point
of
is
everybody.
that you can separate when it comes to Debbie's my mother-in-law. I love Debbie to death, but I don't.
Not your mother-in-law.
I mean, Debbie's Mary's mother-in-law. Thank you. So she is of course family, but it's not the same thing. Just like Jonathan's not the same thing. But when it comes to mom, it's simply just black and white to me that the conversation we're having you right now related to Smiley Aesthetics is unrelated to you as a mother of me or a grandmother of my children. So I just don't have any issue separating those. If that's not you, or you even start the first conversation with a family member and immediately it gets personal, yeah, it's probably not right. Those are, be red flags on the front end to being like, yeah, maybe this isn't right for you, because I think that's been a key to our success. That's the printer, not a robber coming to beat us. Although if they do, it's on camera.
Unfortunately for them.
Psychology thing where the person runs in and they have like red hair and
but
sweater, and
unless they came all the way, hopefully they would come all the way in. So plan. If they come in,
don't do the taken thing.
No, don't think don't let them know there's a camera.
We're just sitting here chatting.
Yes.
And do the taken thing. If that's what you can, give as much information about the shooter or the kidnapper as possible. I just watched that the other night.
I'll just pretend you're blind and I'm giving the information to you.
I don't even look blind. I mean, this is a weird,
Just close your eyes.
Okay, not even fun. We shouldn't be laughing about that. But anyway, they're
laughing at them, laughing at the ridiculous of where that conversation.
So my point to that was that if you personal things are already coming into play, even when you start thinking about that person, yeah, but last week when I asked her to help.
Okay, so I won't be having many conversations with Debbie Gold.
Well,
because
which
Debbie doesn't report to you. She's also salted the earth and one of the greatest mother-in-laws that ever walked the face of this earth. But she reports to Carla, which is very important, because if there was ever I would never even consider her reporting to me, or
we're not talking about you in this instance. We're talking about me. The only reason this has really worked, in my opinion, with some of these people is like you could never have a tough conversation with Debbie. Is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, you kind of cut me off.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to be clear. It wasn't really.
I mean, I can have a tough conversation.
I think I think you would have a harder time separating the personal.
I think, yeah, sure. Okay, so leveling up, continuing on, our trifecta that we have, that gets very challenging at times. And I think it's, that can be challenging because the personal, for the same reason that she's saying separating the personal from the business can be challenging. And that's challenging for all three of us. So, to be quite frank. So, yeah, how do we get so caught up on, separating personal from business is the key point in being able to bring a family member on, for sure. How you structure bringing them on, where you position them in the company, when they're doing something like that, what task, the level of severity or the level of importance of the task. All those things are very important to consider.
Yeah, are they capable? Right.
No, well, not even. Yeah, so let's say they are.
Put them in a ridiculous level job and they're not capable of doing it.
Yes,
it's just an immediate.
Or if they're literally the life thread of the company, and it's your mother-in-law that, let's say, you hate. That would not be a good idea whether her skill set matches it or not. So it's just considering, stuff like that. For sure, if a fight's going to derail the entire thing, then obviously maybe don't do that.
I mean, you stick to your guns. What is it? Right person, right place, right job. Like they have to meet all of the criteria. Right person, right job, right capabilities, or whatever the case is. They should meet those three things. And if you can't decide on those three things because there's personal feelings or because they don't meet one of those, then you should not. They should not be a part of it. So, yeah. So, twins. We have never felt like that has been. A lot of people it's funny. People, I think, want it to be or us to have negative reasons why it's negative. And I think that's because of the social norm, which I talk about this on this podcast all the time. Like, because it's normal to be like, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm dying 24/7. Ugh, I just get annoyed with all that because that doesn't have to be the case. And oftentimes it's not the case when you really dig down. Like, if you're a happy entrepreneur, there must be something wrong with your business. Because how are you happy?
I'm happy.
Exactly. So I think the same holds true with us it relates to being twins and the whole social norm or the societal acceptance that being in family with business is crazy.
I was like, where are you going with that? Because I don't think people want twins being negative. But yeah.
No, but they want to be like,
to hear the bad stuff.
Yeah, like it must be bad stuff. And I'm kind of like, I mean, now we do have some very unique talents. Very unique talents.
What are mine?
I have some very
Tell me everything.
I have some very unique talents. No, we have a rebound rate, and actually came up today, of like half a second. And what that means is, in relation to this is, it doesn't matter if it's personal, professional, we can rebound in about a half second. We can literally, I can be like, I will never do another business with you in my life. And then, quite frankly, the next word that comes out is, do you want lunch?
Are we going to trade tonight?
So we need a babysitter because we've got trivia. Where do we go? And I think part of that speaks to being able to separate.
Oh, that happened. Okay, let me tell the story. That happened today in the car where we were fighting about whatever we got to fight about. I don't remember what it was. I think it actually was business. And we got to fight, and then I hung up and I called you back like 1 minute later.
Fighting over semantics of words. So you just said this.
Okay, let me first of all talk about because that's the second time you brought that up. I have had a lot of therapy and effective communication. I've now identified what this is stemming from, which was what we were fighting about. Effective communication is a thing, and it's something that is worth being learned.
It is, but you can overdo that and
it's only overdone
if it comes out of somebody's mouth and then correct them.
I don't take every single. See, here we go. I do not take every single word that comes out of your mouth and correct it.
I know, but
have a correct me since this morning in the car.
Saying that is just it's like a saying. It's like
maybe you need to learn a better effective communication.
You want the world to change because a lot of people do that.
They speak a lot of people that don't learn effective communication. I'm just saying it's a skill you could maybe put some time into.
Okay, you're right.
So anyway,
you could just say you're right. It's not.
Okay, that's really out of context.
I know.
So anyways, that's what we were fighting about. And I hung up, and when I call you back about it, was literally 30 seconds later. I was like, she's probably not going to answer the phone. And, oh, man, I don't remember what it was. But
no, something.
It was so random, whatever I had a question about that I needed answered. And, I wanted to say, hey, I really need to say this about the marketing decision we had made. And we had a
10-minute conversation and made a great decision for the company.
yeah, and then
on the way to school.
So in that 30-second interval, called her back. Said, I need to say this.
Informed me of my need for extreme therapy.
Yeah, this is a yes, and then yes, we made a very big decision for the next year about where our marketing is going for the company. Literally 30 seconds later. It's a really good. That's a good story.
So I think one of the things that's challenging for us, or for me, is that
now I feel like you're harping on something that I haven't even brought up.
Because we have really unlimited boundaries, which a coach will tell, and that is telling us we need to make sure we set those, which in front of employees and stuff, like it is important that we do that because we literally make some of them uncomfortable. And we try not to do that. Sometimes it's part of the culture and it's like normal and it's almost funny. And then other times we have a muskrat, but it's not muskrat. What's the name for a keyword, code word, whatever now that we're working on.
What is it? Because this was,
I didn't want to say it out loud. So offline.
Oh, I don't think it's bad to say that.
But it's more
we should take this offline.
Yeah, like and it's for everything from something small, like
let's table this. Ooh, let's start making Jonathan run and say, let's punt this. Punt.
Okay.
You hate when people say, I'm gonna punt.
What are you doing?
it'll just make me laugh. So it really diffuse situations. So I think we should do it.
I can do that.
Okay,
I used to
let's
say that.
punt.
I say that a lot. So
I know.
How many years Jonathan has hated me over punting?
Okay, well, it's not that intense.
But just
because it became a trendy word of like, we're gonna punt. Okay, let's punt over here and let's punt over there, and then punt. He used it a lot. Not you, everyone. It was like trending for a second.
Okay. Well, and so what I was going to say was that because we don't have great boundaries, but because we don't necessarily want to have great boundaries, which is coaching, everybody else will tell you, well, you should create these boundaries. And they're right to a certain extent, but there's also like this beautiful thing that happens. That's how we rebound so quickly and things like that. Again, that no one else is going to be able to understand, and no one has really probably coached. Like I would challenge someone.
Or they don't believe us when we say it. So, or they've just never seen it in action.
Yeah, you're saying that like, it's like two other owners of a company who are like, oh, but we're fine. And it's like, yeah, people say that, and you've probably seen a lot of disasters, but here we are, and it's not quite the disaster.
Well, the first thing anyone's ever said to us is, I've seen companies tear families apart.
Every time. It's like, cool.
It's like, I don't want to invalidate your
But have you seen
experience?
Twins that own a company and it be torn apart? I mean, maybe they have an example, but cool. It's so, and the N's probably not 30, researchable. Anyway.
30 what? I didn't hear you.
An N of 30.
I'm sorry, can we revisit something? Are we changing it to punt?
Yeah, we said that. John's going to hear this.
I don't know if you looked at it.
Okay. So where I was going with that, is that because we don't have boundaries, oftentimes Mary can push me to a point of ineffective communication. And I think that goes both ways.
So a more effective way to communicate that would have been, we can push each other to.
I said I was talking about me. See, here we are, semantics again.
You didn't say that. You didn't say that.
I did for me. Remember that when I did that 5 seconds ago?
You use you statements, and you should really turn this.
Oh my gosh, it's endless. I mean,
that's effective communication. If you're listening to this and you know what I'm talking about, comment now and say, I statements are better than you statements.
I mean, like,
I have told her that she should get into therapy for this sort, just to get up to my level. Just to get up to my level of therapizing.
I mean, like, we have an employee in the room right now who's literally looking like,
I don't think she's looking at me like that. I think she's looking at both of us like that.
Anyway.
She probably doesn't get therapy.
What I was going to say, as I said, for me.
And then you probably don't have therapy.
There's no personal boundary, because we're talking about specifics between identical twins. And specifics between us in specific is that is something that we're aware of, or I'm aware of, acutely aware of, and try to control, which is I've been pushed past my boundary to where I will start using extremes, like always, or it becomes ineffective completely. There's nothing good that's going to come of it. And I don't want to talk about it anymore, because I can no longer handle it emotionally, and it's only going to be a negative. We did struggle for a period with, again, I'm talking about me. Mary would be like, well, you don't just get to end the conversation. And it's like, no, but I'm ending the conversation because I know I've reached my limit, and the effective communication has effectively ended.
Well, we've done better taking steps to that not being just an end it when I feel like I've said what I've gotten to say, and then versus actually ending when actually saying.
Understanding that it's not because I've said what I wanted to say, and I'm ending
or it actually is not. I don't think it was a misunderstanding of it. I think you have also changed in that you don't just end it when you feel like you're done saying what you're saying.
Anyway, it's being aware that if you allow personal relationships to then dissolve boundaries, I would never speak to a co-owner or co-partner, or if I'm in a hospital, when I was in leadership, a peer or the CEO or whoever, the way that we speak to each other. And I think coaches and a lot of people would have issue with that. And there's a level of that can't be passed or can't be seen by employees. And so we are very careful about that, and are not perfect, and are certainly working to make that even better. There's a little bit we let trickle through because it is funny and it's part of our culture, and it is what people signed up for. And again, twins, people are fascinated by it. But then there is part of it that is just the fact that we don't have personal boundaries between things, because half the time, even if you stop talking, I can still feel you. And I can feel the anger, the frustration, and that even triggers even more for me. Like, the desire to want to say more, because I'm like, I literally can't calm down because you're not calm down. And like, if you don't calm down, I can't calm down. And so now I'm riled back up. I mean, it really is something that we have to deal with that, it's not a negative. It's more just that we have to be aware of it, because there's way too many times it's a positive, that we are so aware of the other person, and their emotions and their feelings. Now, when you're just being an asshole, that's when you keep going and you keep poking, even when the other person is obviously at their limit. And we know that better than anybody else. I know that better than anyone else, that she's at her limit. And if I continue to poke that's just us being, then you're just being an asshole. But again, oftentimes, not often, I can be an asshole and she can be an asshole because those boundaries are so blurred. So it is an interesting dynamic. And we've never met identical twins, and that's mostly because of the rarity. A, that have been in business together, or B, that are doing something that have them so tightly intertwined.
Lord help, if you're out there, for God's sake, send us a message, comment, do something.
If you know a set of identical twins in business together,
comment.
That's what we should do.
Wow, hold on. There was this, I don't think they were identical twins.
Like the Harvard twin people who did the Facebook thing at Harvard, they tried to create the business together. That's really what they were doing. And then Mark Zuckerberg, he got him.
Wait,
what is the story of Facebook? Anyway. The twins that were rowers at Harvard that started Facebook, and then Mark Zuckerberg took it and copied it at Harvard, and that's how Facebook started.
Is this controversial?
I don't know. I'm sure they think it's controversial.
I don't know.
They sued him for it, and then I don't know what happened with it, honestly. But the point is, they were twins, identical twins that were doing things together, and they were very tight knit, and it was another example. But if y'all are watching that, or you know them, have them reach out in a minute. But really, that'd be a cool thing to start. Like, we should put out there, identical twin business owners, like, gosh, a freaking work group. Like, do you own outright or majority owner of a business, and you are identical twins, and you are also the CEO, COO, or whatever, the main operators of it? Let's start a group chat. Let's do something. Because I think that would be the one instance that I can think of that where twins, I mean, it's not like, maybe if you're two twins and you live in the same house, maybe you'd be as close. That'd be another example of being like
there's twins that like marry identical twins and then end up living in a compound.
Yeah, like that's what we want to do.
Like, it's not off the table.
Yeah.
Although Jonathan and Brad are not identical twins, but living on a piece of property several acres apart.
She just lived at a house recently that in the backyard, like,
we just cut a hole in the fence. Doesn't actually butt up to it. It's walkable.
You can get in the creek.
Well, we're trying to capitalize on her putting in a pool. I am opportunistic sometimes.
Wow. So anyways, yeah, so that's my point there, is that when boundaries do get gray, it does allow for some, and I really don't see it as a negative, both good and bad emotions to be played off of that you do have to be careful. Because,
yeah, so there's that.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's an aura and energy feeding off the other person that like is so far past what you feed off of. Like, two angry people feed off each other.
Oh, especially if one of us doesn't get like our way or isn't settled in the conversation. So if I'm fine with whatever happened, or I know in my mind I won, whatever that looks like, and it's typical sibling whatever, and then she's over there seething, and then I try to move on the 5-second rebound, 2-second rebound, whatever, half a second, to something else, and she's still acting salty. It's just like,
can you get over it?
Can we? And that doesn't, that typically doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So that's like the negative part of it, but the positive part of it is that twin stuff.
Well, I was gonna say one other thing on emotions.
Oh Lord,
it's good and bad, because like the two people who are angry in a room, and it escalates. I mean, you watch two.
Oh, excitement escalating and stuff.
Yeah, and it's like times 10.
Yeah.
I'd literally be like, I stop. Like, or we've had multiple instances, if you want to talk about actual twin stuff. Here's a fun story. Two fun stories. Pregnancy stories both ways. That I like, just no denying this. It's crazy. So for me, I was for me, I was having dreams. I knew I didn't know I was pregnant with my first son when I started having the dreams. But then with my second son, that's how I knew I was pregnant. I get these really crazy, vivid, ridiculous dreams. And so I didn't identify that, obviously, until the second time. Well, when she was pregnant with her first son, she had taken a test and it was negative and everything. And I still was like, I told my mom, I told her over like multiple days, you're either, there's something wrong with you or you're pregnant, because I'm losing my mind. Okay. Like, between the dreams and I'm just a mess. Like it's one of the two. So I actually was in Knoxville, and she was like, I just took a test the other day. And I'm like, I don't care. Let's take another one to see, because it's literally I'm literally going to go seek neurological help, or you're pregnant. And sure enough, she was pregnant. And the same thing happened with her second son. You were only like 10 days pregnant. I mean, you weren't even like having a positive test. And I was like, oh yeah, you're pregnant and it's a boy. And it was a similar situation. I was a disaster. Like, I was just like, what? And that's not like me. I was just a disaster. So
that's happened many times where it's like something's off with the other person, like that's significant, or even I'd say moderately significant. And I have to look at myself and be like, was it my period? Or what is happening right now? And then without a doubt, at some point during that day, she'll call me and say, whatever, this, that, the other, whatever's going on.
It's like, oh,
and it's like, oh, okay, well, that
makes sense.
Yeah, that.
And then that happened with her, because this is fun stories. When I was pregnant with Gabe, my first son, I had never, even in all our basketball days, had never had a true Charlie horse, a true leg cramp. And I woke up in the middle of the night with a full-blown like calf explosion cramp. And of course, screaming. They're terrible. They're terrible. So I did not tell her about that for whatever. I didn't tell her about it. And then it was like a couple of weeks later. I'd had 2 or 3 at that point. And Mary was like, I've been having...
No, you're skipping the best part.
Oh, go ahead.
We were in a hotel room because we were at a casino gambling, and it was her husband and her...
I was just pregnant and just,
okay.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
I need you to caveat off the statement. Who cares? I mean, anyway. Her and her husband were obviously sleeping together, and we were in one room because there was a hotel disaster. That was the time we thought we had booked a hotel. We did not book a hotel.
You had said you booked
I booked the wrong day, which you've actually been guilty of recently twice. So
that is irrelevant to the story. You just said
it happens to the best of us. So we were in the same room in queen beds or whatever, and she sat straight up and had one, or I did. I don't remember.
I think you did.
I think I did. Yeah. And I think that was my first one or whatever. And I literally, when I looked down on my leg, it's the type of it's type of cramp where like your muscle is so contracted in my calf that every single muscle fiber you can see. It actually looks really cool. Yeah, if I wasn't dying, it looks super cool. Yeah, like you're the most ripped calf muscle ever. Except I'm dying, right? It's like 10 or 15 seconds of just holy crap. Well, that happened. I think I'm fairly certain it was the first time, and we were at this place in Cherokee, North Carolina, and that is when I learned that she had just started having those. And at that point, you were like at least 20 weeks pregnant, 22 weeks pregnant. And so it was just like, for absolutely nervous. I had like 2 or 3 during her pregnancy, never had it again. This is 5 years after her child.
Isn't that crazy? I mean, just think about that.
And when I had Miles, I had like 2 or 3 when I was pregnant with Miles, but there's a 5-year gap. And like when I had him with 2 or 3 while she was pregnant, never had it again. Only had it while I was pregnant, and then never had it since.
Yeah, that's it's been some wild things. We both had an ovarian torsion within like 3 months of each other.
Yeah, that was crazy.
How rare that is. I mean, to have, it's just that's insane. That's crazy. So
to even know someone who's having an ovarian torsion is like hard to find.
Raise your hand if you even know. Yeah, exactly.
So that was I was getting into like the fun stuff or the whatever with twins. Like, I mean, people ask us all the time, is it true? And it's like, to an extent.
We used to kind of balk against that and be like, I used to be like annoyed with it. And now I'm like, yep.
Yeah, well, I think it's true to an extent. It's not like we are literally sitting here reading each other's mind or anything like that. But the
bridesmaids.
The level of knowing what she's thinking is 100% different than anything else with anyone else ever. I would argue that.
And that does play a role, because when you're in a room, whether it's informal, formal,
and reading a room and you're reading the room the exact same way, it can be extremely helpful.
The other person. I mean, there is.
Well, yeah, we don't have to talk. We don't have to talk to know what the emotion she is.
Is it a negative or is it a positive?
Yeah. So
that's important, because
it's super helpful.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an advantage. I would even say.
Yeah, because you know what that does do too. If you want to talk, getting down into that, is not that we don't prepare for things, but what's every podcast?
Oh gosh, no, let's talk about that. We decided when we started getting on stage at places and on faculty at stuff, and we were doing podcasts, and whenever we're doing anything, we opted,
even a big meeting.
And we filmed a TV show. We opted not to. The first time we kind of did it, we were like, this is silly. What are we doing? When we tried to decide, what are we going to say? Yeah. And what are you going to say? And what am I going to say? And how are we going to...
If you say that, I'll say this.
Well, and
I'll say that anyway.
Well, and how are we going to sit together and look at, it was when we were filming the show, and look at the camera and not sound like idiots back and forth. And it's like, what are we doing here?
We typically don't sound like idiots, although those listening might disagree.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But what ended up happening was not doing that and feeding off each other so perfectly. And other people can do that too, for sure. When they work together, newscasters for years and years, of course.
Husband and wife.
This is the first time we ever did it. And what came across on screen and stuff, and what continues to come across on screen when we do different things and on stage, is like, we don't have to prepare. If we know the topic,
actually, we think it's a negative. Like it actually can take away from the magnetism that is our relationship, and that is
and the way that the casualness of the conversation, yet totally conveying what we want to, since we're just so in sync and stuff. And
everybody who thought about doing a podcast or interviewing us is now like, you
yeah, never mind. But yeah, that's another it's another great benefit of like not even needing, just knowing it's gonna flow. And now it's been proven a few times on different platforms, on different on stage versus on camera versus on this podcast. And while this podcast is a lot more informal a lot of the times and kind of a hot mess, like we always we do not prepare for it. Yeah, we don't. A lot of times we're choosing the topic before, and not a lot of times. It does depend on some of you guys' questions that come in, but sometimes we are trying to decide on what we're gonna do, or do we want to change or whatever right then and there. So all that to say, it's not a toot of our own horn. It's more of just like that part. Cool. Yeah, it is really cool, and that part is to prepare, but to prepare to, if we prepared, it would be negative, and to go that far. Yeah. Is what we're kind of saying. That's kind of the cool part. Yeah, for sure.
I also think it, plays a part. This is identical twins versus two other people who may be getting to know each other, or going to visit, or even siblings who aren't as close as we are. This may sound silly, but I mean, you think about all the time and energy it takes to prepare for anything, whether it's a podcast or a big meeting, an investor meeting, or anything, any kind of meeting. Where you two are going to be doing it,
and you want to make sure you're on the same page,
all the meetings about the meetings and all that kind of stuff. That, especially for as much as we do, I mean,
that's cut by 80%.
Yeah, or more. Like
we'll still prepare for stuff, obviously, if necessary.
Sure.
But
yeah,
we don't have to prepare each other.
Respect where it's due, but the point is that is actually impactful, and I think that there's a real study point there of we already can have two brains working on the same thing that are very, very similar, but also a little bit different, because everybody's a little bit different and have different strengths and weaknesses. But then add on to the fact that, dang, already it's double time. But then you take away things that other normal people have to do, which is prepare for some things, when I'll even go so far as to say, if I was by myself, I would prepare more for some things, but don't have to, because even if I get off track, it's bad. I mean, I'm going to have to readjust in whatever comes after Smiley, if anything, because I can even not prepare for something and lazily trust that she'll fill the gaps in, especially when it's something we both know. Now, I'm not talking about in-depth financial conversation where I need to have specific answers to things that are in my wheelhouse, or a clinical thing where, whatever the case is. But for so much of what we do, because we operate this company together so much on so many of the different parts, I can be lazy.
Yeah, well, and then it's like, and I feel like I just lost my train of thought, I think maybe.
Sorry, I didn't catch it. That way. I'm sorry, that train went choo 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 choo.
Right. But well, no, it's preparing and stuff. But it's like the same brain, because it is. Our DNA is identical. We literally had it tested. Not now. We were in a Tennessee twin study when we were 11 or whatever. Very very normally, and then we went two different pathways. With the anesthesia and very clinically focused, and hers a very business administrative.
Because we're different.
And that is how we are different, which is what complements, which is so perfect. That's where our same brains learn different skill sets. And then what I find very interesting is we've recently gotten into just kind of integrating some stuff with, we were advised to read the book Rocket Fuel and then Traction, and it's by the same author, Gino
Wickman.
Right. And it's a great book. It's a whole
the EOS system.
Yeah, it's a whole set. Right. She knows that. But it talks about an integrator and a visionary in relation to a visionary as CEO and an integrator as a COO, and that's how they relate it. It can be related a little bit differently, but how perfect. It's interesting how perfectly we fit such two different roles, but how our lives and our paths went those ways. almost and made us into this visionary person and this operating person. And then it's all so fascinating, and it should be studied more often. And I would totally be a part of a study.
Well, and I'm going to say something that this is the first time she's ever heard this. Yes, there's a visionary integrator, and she's very much like, oh my gosh, this fits us perfectly. But then, but then where we have an advantage, because some people will see there is overlap. Of course, you'll be like, well, I do kind of like that, and I can, but like we truly do where it overlaps. As long as we stay in our lanes, which we are working through. I mean, that's, we are very similar. So oftentimes you overlap into something you may know or do, but you don't need to, because you can stay in your lane, because that does get complicated. But where they do overlap, I feel like we handle especially well, because the overlaps are exactly the same, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. I don't really know how else to say that.
Well, if I feel like
intertwine a little bit, these intertwined synapses are so
they're the same for each of us.
Yeah,
so your two hands. Yeah. So if I feel like my role interlaps over into her, it's in the exact same way that she feels like her role intertwines with mine.
Maybe.
That doesn't sound.
That's what's tough. Is truly, and that's why someone should really. It's an expert. I don't know.
When should study more?
Yeah, because sometimes I don't have words, because there are not words because words are very concrete and they're not abstract. They're black and white. You said what you said. When in reality, feelings, emotions, all that stuff, like we've done a good job with defining all those, but trying to define this
very
words,
subjective.
it's like almost like a new territory. It's like I want to create a new word for some of the things that I'm like, I don't have a word to put to it, and I've got a pretty big vocabulary, and I just still don't have a way to say what I want to say using the words that I know, and to describe things. So I think that's interesting and unique. And when you have the other person who is identical to you, who understands that as well, then that it's not a problem. Now, if you have twins that you're like, oh my gosh, they couldn't be any more different, and they don't understand each other, and blah, 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 it's like that. Okay, that's not what we're talking about. I don't know how else. Again, I don't really have good words to differentiate the two, other than if you know, you know. I hate that saying, but it's true. If you're an identical twin listening to this and you are like us and similar to us, 80%,
okay,
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, and let's end on this. Those three, Netflix did that little documentary, those three twins that were separated at birth by that terrible...
Three identical strangers.
Yeah, by the terrible scientists who did, in fact, study twins very unethically or
literally
whatever.
Split identical twins at birth.
Yeah, that is a super interesting... Yeah, and I think there are... everything's a bell curve, right? Most identical twins would fall under this or whatever. And every now and then you get a set of identical twins that are very different, but they're really not. If you're talking about identical twins, they're really not. They're not that much different. But there are some that can be. But that is a really cool thing. Yeah,
that's one end of the spectrum. I mean, you get down to the tiny curve goes way down, and then you have the other end of the spectrum, which is kind of where I think we are, in some ways. Not all the way to the other end, but like in that end of like, I think
the synergism is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's a really good documentary, Three Identical Strangers, just for the record.
For the sake of time.
Who likes it.
Yeah. For the sake of time, let's wrap it up, I think. So our plans for the coming weeks, or plans are fun, are to do like a recap of 2024 with Smiley Aesthetics and what we've done and highlighting some things that were successful, maybe things that were not.
Literally from January to now, and it's really...
Do a recap and then try to do a practical, like this worked and this didn't. This worked in a med spa, this worked for a mobile injector, this worked for us as a whole, and that kind of thing. And then do a looking to 2024 the next week, or vice versa, but probably that order makes sense. And what we're doing to go into 2024.
Yeah.
How we've grown, what we're telling our mobile, our independent med spas to do, the ones that are mobile, the ones that are not, what we're doing with our more traditional brick and mortar.
And it's all based on what we learned, right? It's all based on the last year. Very practical. I think this is literally what we are doing.
I think the next two will, I don't want to say reveal some secrets, but like maybe say some things that have been kind of things, whatever, that'll come out that are tips or whatever for growth, for what we've learned from mistakes and the good things, and then how we're implementing things that we learned from our mistakes and our growth into 2024. So those are going to be the next two episodes. And hopefully we don't miss a week or anything with the holidays. We're going to really try not to, but if you don't see something posted for a week, then it's just a holiday kind of thing.
It's just Christmas.
Or it's just lazy. Honestly, it's just maybe a little bit of laziness. Or sometimes our day gets so busy, like today, that it's dark outside. We both stayed over. We're going to trivia tonight.
It's 6:05.
And I Our husbands are amazing, and they got the kids, got them home, and the babysitters got there, and we're just going to show up at trivia.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just that.
If you enjoyed this or you find value in it or you think somebody else would enjoy it, you got a twin fanatic out there, please do like and subscribe. All of those things are super important to us as a small business and everything that we're trying to do, and just getting some information out in the world that's real and practical and isn't like, oh, I heard it on the internet and it must be true. It's not like I just want to.
And with that being said, if there's something that you're just, even if we've taught, you feel like one of the other episodes, you don't want to go back and listen to, just anything that comes up, just send it to us. Just send a comment or get on one of our social media pages.
What we've done.
I know. At some point, you get so far enough away that maybe we talk about the same topic. Hopefully not for a second, but still.
It'll be different, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
So we usually do a FAQ kind of thing of at least 2 or 3 people said the same question, or we try to pick a couple. With that being said, one of them was, what are you doing for the new year? So I'm gonna have to pause on that. We'll do the episode on that, and then our Christmas deals. This is gonna be short of me, but they're on our social media. We did 12 days of Christmas. They're literally going to come out on a good reason to go like and subscribe to our, or like and follow Smiley Aesthetics, the main page. I think there's a bottom dash, Smiley Aesthetics bottom dash.
When do they start today?
I think it's today.
Yeah. So this is coming out on Sunday, so you'll be a few days behind, but yeah.
Oh, that's a good
12
point.
days of Christmas is a really easy thing to do at Christmas.
And you could shorten it and just do, do days before leading up to Christmas, the week before, 7 days before Christmas. 12 days is obviously a common thing, but that's what we did for our Christmas deals. And sorry, that question actually came relatively recently.
You're talking so fast. If anybody actually follows what you're saying right now,
they can always go back. I'm pretty sure you can slow down the audio if you need to. So.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. Patreon's at Smiley Aesthetics.
Patreon.
No.
Patreon.com/Smiley Aesthetics.
Yeah. And then I'm Injector Smiley, and she's C Smiley Injector. And then our attorney is at Court Approved Aesthetics. And so all 3 of us try to put out stuff and or whatever, mainly on Instagram.
And again, if you I think it's the mentality for businesses. If you're a small business owner or just anybody, if you smiled at this at all or found any piece of value, I mean, hit share. I mean, unless it's just embarrassing, I don't know. Sharing something, who cares? Like, you share stuff all the time, a book you like or this recipe. People have no problem sharing that stuff. But when it comes to other things, I think it's interesting that it's harder. But anyway, if you have found value in this or you think somebody else would enjoy it, please just do us a favor and share it. We'd like to, Mary's going to now, because we're the last ones here, walk over and stop the recording. So see you guys next time. Bye.